Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So today is the 15th day of my 9th entry point water fast. So for the past 2 weeks and 1 day, I've been drinking water only, eating no food. And today I would like to tell you more about the flow and how it connects to a beautiful analogy or metaphor that I discovered, and that is how chess could be used as a metaphor, how to make decisions in life. So I'd like to tell you about that today. And in the end, maybe give you a little report on how I'm doing and how all of it connects to water fasting. So in the past, I told you that, one of the main reasons why you do water fasting is to get into what I call a superketosis state, which starts about a week after you start fasting. That means that your body switches into processing ketones, and I would even say that after a week, when it switches into superketosis, it takes about a week for the body to even get used to being in the superketosis state. So that's level number one. Switching into superketosis leads into you having more energy. Also, this is amplified by you not digesting any food, which also takes up your life energy. So, because level one, you turn your metabolism into superketosis, you have extra energy. The fact that you have extra energy, you will experience also that your brain will work much better. Now, I described this in detail in the previous videos, so check them out. The links are in the description to this video. And once your brain starts working in a different way, it's very easy to then move to the other level, the fourth level, which is that you get into what I call the flow. And I guess the most common way people know the flow is the peak performance that the top athletes or athletes reach during their, when they have to reach peak performance. And in the moment when you are reaching peak performance, almost everyone will tell you, and I'm also talking from my own experience when I was a competitive swimmer, that you basically turn off your mind. You let the body do its thing, and in that moment you actually reach your maximum. Because the moment you put your mind into it, you are actually not reaching 100%, but you are reaching 100% minus the energy that you are putting into thinking. So that's what I call peak performance. Now, this happens in sports, but during water fasting, and that's why I call it entry point water fast, because it's not just fasting, but the word entry point means that I'm turning fasting into a tool that can be beneficial to my life. And I use fasting to stay in the flow, just like when I was doing competitive swimming, but to stay in the flow in everyday life, in everyday situation when I'm where I work at my job. I work as a marketing director in an IT company, so you can imagine what type of work I do. And in this environment, I want to also stay in the flow. And to stay in the flow, that's something that I will leave for the next episodes. But right now, you understand how the flow works, and the theory is that imagine that if you can stay in the flow during your professional hours, then you are probably going to reach peak performance, just like during the sporting competition. And so how to stay in the flow and be in the flow during fasting, I'll discuss that later. But now we understand that, it might be a key, very important thing to get into the flow. Now, the video also talks about, or I'm going to talk about now, the beautiful chess metaphor. And you don't have to know how to play chess, but all of you probably know the principles of, what chess is about, and that's enough to understand this metaphor. Now, if you take a grandmaster, now let's say you take Garry Kasparov, and you sit him in front of me when we play chess. Garry Kasparov will not be able to predict exactly where my king is going to be, where I'm going to be mated. And in fact, if I even make it harder and tell him, in the end, he will not be able to tell me that he will mate me, that I will have a bishop and a knight and a king, and they will be positioned exactly on these squares when he's going to mate me. That's almost impossible to predict. Now that's on the level where Garry Kasparov knows ahead of time that he can beat me, and he could probably try to get closer to the position that I mentioned. But when two grandmasters play together, none of them ahead of time says, I know that I will mate you, that your king will be on the left side or on the right side. Because grandmaster doesn't know what the other grandmaster, what he's going to play. So part of the metaphor is, imagine that you are the grandmaster playing white, and the black pieces, they're played by life. So if a grandmaster in real chess is going to play with white pieces against the black pieces, against a black opponent who in this scenario is life, then of course, just like he's not going to say how he's going to mate the opponent, but he knows. So how is he going to get to the mate that he doesn't know how the mate's like? How can he get to the mate that he has no idea what the mate is going to look like? Well, the only way he can get to it is that every single moment when he's making the move, he 100% forgets about the past. Like, he doesn't care how he got into the position. And for the future, he evaluates the future positions, so not that he gets to the mate that he envisioned, because he doesn't even think about mate, but he's thinking about, based on his assessment of the current situation, how he can make the most correct move in a given position. Because he knows that to make the ideal mate, based on how the black or how life play its position, that the ideal mate, the path to ideal mate is through strengths of him making correct moves. Now going back to everyday life, what this analogy teaches is that imagine that the mate in chess is the metaphor for your life's goal. Now, we all set goals, and we are taught that setting goals is the right way to go. But consider this, what if in fact it doesn't make sense? And why doesn't it make sense? Well, in my case, I live in a reality where for the first time in my life, I have like no idea what's going to be happening in 6 months, what's going to be happening in a year. I have no idea how the various effects, how they will affect various areas of business and economy. So it's extremely hard to plan anything. Now, when I look in the past and I try to make sense out of past, I realize that, every cause has many effects, and every single effect has also many causes. So there's no way, even though it's something might look obvious, that I can figure out how something happened. So in that case, I have no idea, since I have no idea why I'm in the situation where I'm at, since I have no way to predict exactly what's going to be happening, then it's almost futile to set any long-term goals. Now, if I said, don't set any goals, then that would be bad also, because it's better to set goals and try to reach them than just sit and wondering how I should continue. But another way, and that's exactly from the chess metaphor, maybe it's not about setting a goal, but maybe it's about knowing how in every single moment you can make the correct move, because you know that when you make a correct move, that's the way, or the string of correct moves is the way to get to the mate, to the goal. In other words, I would much rather, instead of setting myself a goal that I think is the best for me and then try to reach it, I would much prefer a second thing, which is I don't care what the goal is, as long as I know that I'm on the path to my ultimate goal. And in the next episode, I will tell you how, just like in the chess analogy, how to make a correct move, then how to make a correct move in everyday life. That's what I'll talk to you about, and it connects, of course, with the flow, because to be in the flow, that's how you can make the correct moves. And in the next episode, I'll discuss with you how I use entry point water fasting to be in this type of flow that I believe, at least at what I've experienced for the past 6 months, leads you towards your ultimate goal. So thank you for your support. Thank you for having patience with me and with all the things I tell you, because I want to make it public, because it makes my life happy and I like to share it with others. So again, thanks a lot, and see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.